start button. And we go like that, nothing too official. But what's up, y'all? We're just keeping the content rolling here. I just got an epic massage from Colin, who I just met, 3 days ago? At the Healthy Hut, which is the little, kind of like it's a little hub for the healthy hippies that go there and get their macadamia nuts, some decent vegetables. I like to go to the farmer's market, right? Or to the farm where you work.
Because we supply the farmer's market.
Okay, so some of the stuff I know, like if the lettuce greens and stuff, but a lot of it is mainland vegetables, and that's not my thing. You know, I mean, if you have to, you do it, but you try to get the farmers markets and the local stuff as much as you can. But anyways, you know, as part of a little bonus for the massage, I wanted to give Colin a juice, and I am to understand that you have never tried.
I have never tried these enzymes. I've been wanting to. I've taken the herbal blood cleanser, and that helped me a lot. I was doing some juice fasting and taking those.
Okay, so you wanted some more of those today too.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. So what you do is the cleanse you take on its own.
Okay.
You take that first on its own. Because you don't want to take the cleanse with any of the other stuff. You don't want to take the cleanse with anything else except for either water or juice. That way the cleanse can work, because the cleanse will pull everything out, you know. So that's why you do the cleanse first thing in the morning after you've had a night's sleep and everything's digested and all that's been done. Then you take the cleanse, and that bulks up, and that will get you prepared for the next day's release. So it's a system, you know. And after you've taken the cleanse, after about an hour and a half you've taken the cleanse, you have the cleanse capsules and the cleanse powder. So the cleanse powder goes in the watermelon, apple, orange, grapefruit, or whatever. You put a scoop or 2 or 3. The more cleanse you use in the powder form, like let's say you constipated and you're like, I haven't taken a crap in like 2 or 3 days because you're either stressed or you're stopping coffee or you haven't had much fiber in your foods. There's a lot of different reasons why people, or you know, a lot of us have trouble with the microbiome. So I'm not going to go into it today, but what you're lucky because you work on a farm.
Yeah.
And so barefoot on the farm, eating those fresh farm foods, and if you could get everyone to do that, you would see massive shifts in the microbiomes of human beings. But our hyper-sterilized, I didn't mean to turn this into a preaching thing, but the hyper-sterilized environments that we're living in are creating this disconnect in the communication network. And we were talking about that earlier, and you seemed a little fascinated by it.
Yeah, I am, definitely. I love learning about the microscopic and macroscopic level of things. So.
And it's the microscopic that we've missed. What happens is the more you are able to sort of dive into the microscopic, the more I think you're able to understand the essence of the macroscopic. And then at some point there's no more thinking anymore, because you know you're never going to be able to really ever quite get it. And then what that does is that drives you back to being, you know. But that's a whole nother spiritual thing too, which is what happened kind of on the table a little bit. And we're always working back towards being.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a everyday process, moment by moment.
Of the being, which is the non-thinking, which is the non-duality, which then all the problems go away. But you still have to support the human organism while you're stuck in it here on Earth. I don't mean to make that in a derogatory way, because it's cool to be human. And the more you understand your infinite self, the more you're like, okay, I'm a human being for a second. I can handle this. Let's have a little fun, but not too much to where we suffer. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be a balance between like joyfully expressing and playing and consuming even, but not in excess of any which way or any other extreme, which I've had to learn, because I can easily be extreme on one end or the other, and I still really have that in certain ways, but I am trying to find that center point.
What's your favorite food for balance? Just finding balance physically, mentally, emotionally. What do you, when you notice you're getting out of balance, how do you support yourself to be more in balance?
You know, the only thing I can really do is just be there with what is going on at that time. It's when you try to run from it that you get more and more and more out of balance. Like if you're not able to, you just have to accept it as it is. And it seems like no matter how evolved you get, you still have to embrace the karma or the unfolding. And so you kind of learn how to just be sort of neutral with the pleasant and the unpleasant. You're like you're a witness to the pleasant and you're a witness to the unpleasant. And then you start creating more and more space. And then it's not, the difficult times are not as difficult, and you get stuck there for days, weeks, months, years in this tightness because you're resisting it. And then also you don't want to get stuck on clinging to the pleasant because all things come and go. Except for the one thing that is the eternal. And that's what we're trying to get back to or realize. It's not really a get back to or a gaining or an acquisition of anything. It's a realization of what's always been and what always will be. You know, so it's you can't really earn it. Every one of us already has it. So anyway, we're opening up a new one today. I just got my new shipment.
So what's in this one?
This one is the Pyrazine. And so you can read here what you got is amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates.
Okay.
And that is where if you have excess undigested carbohydrates, that's where you have the excesses of the yeast and the candidas.
Yep, I ate a bunch of pasta last night, so probably still breaking down in my system. That's
Yeah.
gonna help.
And if you're healthy and young, you can get away with that, but there are residuals left over. I mean, the living food is the way of nature. It doesn't mean that your organism hasn't adapted somewhat to cooked food. Some people think that we're smarter because of the cooked food, but look at how dumb we are.
It makes me want to laugh when I hear that.
Look at how dumb we are.
Yeah.
Look at what we do to
Hypocrisy.
ourselves. Look at what we've done to ourselves. And look at what we do to ourselves every day. We're not all that, you know, it's like there's a real good argument there. We cooked our food and our brains got bigger because we're still the only species that, you know, creates an environment where it's not even sustainable. Like we're headed towards the sixth mass extinction, which I don't take too personally because it's more than likely will happen, not necessarily in my lifetime, maybe towards the end of years, unless we, you know, I'm not a doomer and gloomer either which way. It's like up to the whatever.
Death is a part of life. I'm grateful for today, and I try and take everything one day at a time. And I'm excited to get these awesome enzymes in my system. Live super fully with these.
Yeah, well, this is we have the amylase, then the protease, and that breaks down the proteins. And if you get too many of those, then you get more of a rancid and putrefying effect, and that's where some of the larger worms and types of things can start to grow. And believe me, there are worms in people, okay? Big ones, long ones. And then acid stable protease, which means a protease that easily passes by the stomach acid.
Oh, wow.
Lipase, which breaks down the fat, and that's also the gallbladder. So you've got different organ systems, the pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder, that produce these different enzymes. But everybody's enzyme deficient because the soil is enzyme deficient because the way we do it. Now, you're on a farm that actually does cover crops, and they do different types of composting.
Crop rotation.
That's right.
We try and recycle everything that's not used right back into the soil.
So there's going to be, you know, I mean, that's like, okay, that's so rare. But that's why I do buy produce from Malawa'a Organica.
And it's harvested day of, delivered to the grocery stores and the farmer's market, like Healthy Hut we deliver to.
And that's where you get the living fiber, the living water, the living minerals, but more than anything else, so the fruits emanate a certain frequency.
Yeah.
And then they attract microbes from the environment. And then I call those the floating microbes. There's no science for any of this. It's just some dude that sits there contemplating all this stuff forever, trying to see it. I just see it. It's like the fruit, the colors and the smells, they emanate a frequency, and then that attracts certain microbes. And the same thing with the plants, but I call those the floaters, you know? And then, so the fruit is like really ascending, and you can almost ascend too much. If you've ever done fruitarianism, like I have, you can just do out there.
Yeah.
And then, but that's why I like to eat the plants, because then you're getting all those soil microorganisms in the plants. And that's, I mean, there are more microorganisms in a teaspoon of soil than there are human beings on the planet.
Oh, it's so crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, well, everything is happening at such a microscopic level. It's the communication networks that are shutting down the different communication networks between the microorganisms in the gut, and then those systems are shut down. But so that's why I like the juice, because then you get all the carrot, the beet, and you have all these microorganisms living in here, which will cause it to ferment after more than 72 hours, but then I put the lemon in it. But then you've got the microbial activity. Then you bring in the enzymes. And then what happens is now you've got the communication network, and then you've got the proteins and the building blocks that are going to allow all the substrates to either break down, enzymes will break down the substrates, or they'll actually bring the substrates together. But you have to have enzyme activity. So there's hundreds of trillions of enzymatic reactions in a day for a human being.
Wow.
Hundreds of trillions. But if the communication network isn't there from the soil, and the food and the living water is key too, and then the enzymes, which allow for all of the communication to happen between even the macromolecules, which are the substrates that either are breaking down either the food that didn't get broken down because of the way we cook it and process it, or the anabolic process of cellular repair. And so enzymes are like a key for today's modern world, because we have depleted ourselves so much by cooking everything, by not eating natural foods, by being separated from the earth, and then taxing ourselves to death with stress, cooked food, and many, many other excesses. Coffee burns up your enzymes, cigarettes burn up your enzymes, weed burns up your enzymes, pharmaceutical drugs burn up your enzymes, and the stress really burns up the enzymes. The cooked food, the processed food is the worst, the heaviest, and so you're losing your digestive and your metabolic enzymes. And so when you take, so we're working here, we got to papain, bromelain, so a little bit,
Dietase.
and gluco, amylase, cellulase, which breaks up the plant fibers, phytase, catalase, and invertase. And then it's got sprouted quinoa, and then fennel seed. Well,
Smells like Indian food almost.
a little bit of that, because that fennel at the end that they give you for the digestive, which is what that is.
I see.
And it just gives you, it's also just, these are antioxidants, and they're also fibers, prebiotic type fibers that, so everything that Paradigm does, that's why I try to tell people.
It's so advanced.
Everything that Paradigm does is to regenerate the gut. Now there's some other stuff that you could use too in the modern world, but the main thing is to go get dirty. But then everybody's living in the city and the food sucks, and it's just like,
how the heck do you get out?
well, you got to get out. You got to go out and you got to go get dirty, because we're a hyper sterilized world. So that's kind of the main thing. But when we're talking about the gut, mostly what I'm trying to do is help people heal their physical organism, and then everything else comes in after that. And so then we've got, I just don't have any light.
It's okay. I see broccoli there.
Oh yeah, so
Is that right?
carrot, broccoli, yeah. And so those are the antioxidants and the prebiotics. So anyway, so take one of these and chew it up.
Chew it up.
Yeah, chew it up,
Okay.
and you'll see. I eat them all the time.
Okay.
I'm
I
on-
trust you.
Yeah, so, oh man, I've eaten so many of these. Well, then what I'll do is I'll let you try this too, actually. This is the lifetime. So this is the super concentrated, pharmaceutical grade. So it's like
Wow.
double the protease, double the amylase. And this is the only company that does this. All the rest of them water it down. And the enzymes industry is about to blow up because people are going to catch on to this finally. It's been around for about 40 years. This Phil and Dave and Lou have all been doing it since the very beginning, you know, and so their whole family has been doing nothing but enzyme research. And so Lou decided, because he had gone through a couple other companies in the beginning, and they all water their stuff down. They all start adding in weird stuff. And Lou designed this company, and he's the 51% owner, so that it can never be watered down. So they keep the concentration there, and they're going to do that for forever because it's not even really about the money. It's about the health of the people and the family that uses it to keep themselves healthy. But what I wanted you to try was this, was the powder.
That tastes pretty good, by the way.
Try that.
In my hand,
just take the whole spoon.
All right.
And then that'll take a minute for you you got to swish around your saliva with that. I ate a whole one of these once. They were going to take it. Well, so I had, this is a small one. This is the small Life Biotic, but I had a full-size Life Biotic and a full-size enzyme. So this is the small 2-ouncer. The 8-ouncer is this size, and this is 9 ounces. I don't know why they get 9 ounces of Lifezyme and only 8 ounces of the Life Biotic in the same tub. But this is the, was getting on a plane coming back. I was at an orphanage and I was doing a fundraiser, and I was in San Salvador headed back to the States, and they were gonna take, I had a whole one of these and a whole one of these because I never travel anymore without Pure Diet. Not the probiotics, enzymes, and herbal blood. 100%. I could justify going without the cleanse, you know, and when I get home, blast a bunch of cleanse. But the probiotics and the enzymes, food poisoning, water poisoning, what happened is though I ate a whole one of these and a whole one of these.
Oh my God.
The whole thing, and the lady was laughing at me. I had looked like cocaine boy. I had cocaine all over my face, because that's probably what they thought it was. But man, I'm telling you, I had the best flight of my life. 6-hour flight. I could feel the enzymes in my blood, just keeping the oxygen really high. It was the most pleasant, easiest flight I've ever felt, because I go from these high oxygen environments, living like a natural life. You get on a plane, the oxygen level drops, not in the cockpit for the captain, but in the body of the plane for the passengers. The oxygen levels are really low. That's why after a flight you're you feel like crap. You know, but on this flight with all these enzymes in my bloodstream, I felt absolutely fantastic. And now I never fly without blasting a whole boatload of enzymes before I get on the plane, and getting really, really hydrated too. So depending on if it's an afternoon flight, I'll drink a gallon or a gallon and a half of juice before I get on a plane. Now, I'm bloated when I get on the plane because I don't want to drink the plastic water. I don't want to drink the stuff, you know what I mean? So I get really, really hydrated because the planes will dehydrate you too. So that was one of those. I'm going to give you 7 more because 8 is the lucky number. And then now I wanted to give you some of this juice. Yeah. You get to have all of it because I'm actually water fasting today. I like to water fast quite a bit, more than I would recommend to anybody else. But slam them with that, dude. And you tell me what you think of that juice. I hope it doesn't hurt you, my young Padawan. You're gonna taste the power here in a minute.
Oh, that's so refreshing. It's spicy.
Yeah, not too much?
Not too much.
Okay, because that's a lot of ginger.
I like ginger a lot. I take straight ginger shots.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people would be like, "Oh my God, what in the hell are you doing?" It's like,
oh, it's fantastic.
Because that's way more ginger than you're gonna get in any commercial preparation of anything, anywhere, ever.
Feels like it's just
in this one is I made 2 jars of this, and I had one yesterday. I wish I could have that now, but
I bet.
but I had I took the whole thing, at least that much, just a huge bundle, 3 or 4 fatties.
I can taste it more now. It's like setting in.
So that's the apple, carrot, ginger, beet, and lemon. Just super concentrated earth roots. So anyways, I was saying about the fruit attracting the local microbes. So on the fruit, you've got a different set of microbes, but it's the vegetables on the ground. Mm-hmm. That's why I like to eat the vegetables, is because in that soil is these molecules that are the communication network in the gut. And so that's why when the people are having the macaroni and cheese and the hot dogs, and you got the autistic kids, and you got the dementia patients, and you got the diabetes people, and the cancer people, and the obesity people, it's because they're not getting enough dirt in their diet.
They're going to the hospital and being fed Jell-O and corn and green beans out of a can rather than living foods.
If you can't get the dirty ass food, which you really want, you want to grow your own if you can, number one. In pots on your porch in the city, if that's all you got. And then you can, you add some microbes to that soil. But it's very important to get some kind of soil and the living biogenic factors in the food. I'm going to give you some of this too. So take 8 of those too.
All right.
And then tomorrow you can report to me on, how you're doing.
Sweet.
But this is also another thing, Shilajit, there's many different brands. Some of them are much better than others. This is a North American one that I really like from Fractal Forest.
It's Fractal Forest brand?
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that before, yeah.
Yeah, at the market. Those are my boys, dude. Up top, man. They're back there in paradise. I have both my friends live back there in the nicest places on planet Earth. And they told me I could buy a piece of land back there if I wanted to.
This one, I love the
flavor.
The aroma and flavor. It tastes like licorice almost. Is that what it has in there?
It's the wormwood. This is amazing. This is for it's a blood cleanser because people get the lack of oxygen and the fake food and the pesticides and the lack of connection to the earth. The blood gets gummed up with it. Not that the parasites and the microbes and the bacteria and the fungus are bad. They have a role to play. It's just that we aren't managing our inner terrain, and so they have to be there. If you're eating the donuts and the pasta and the carbs excessively and not doing fasting or juicing or enzymes or something to keep that from building up the thin layers over and over again, pasta every day or whatever the trip is, the carbs, the breads and stuff, if there's not enough oxygen and you get into an anaerobic state and you are a chooser of the carbohydrates for your own drug, everything is good, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sad, I'm eating carbs, or whatever. Or I hate my job, I'm eating carbs. And everyone has their different thing. I'm not trying to preach to anyone I've had at all, to be honest with you. And it's taken me a grinder to get to the point now where, I overeat on salad and nuts. Okay, so it's like good, but still, we're getting there. And you feel the effect of overeating on salad and nuts, and you're just learning how to do the more of the moderation. But the way you do moderation is to be very, very present with your food and enjoy every single bite. That's why the French don't get fat. But in America, we're a bunch of coke addicts when it comes to food because we're eating alone, and it's because of the chemicals and because of the reasons why we're eating, and we're not doing the family connection thing. That's why I understand the Thanksgiving and all that stuff. The what?
The earth connection. We've lost our connection to each other and to the earth, and so the gratitude, the heart is gone. So we're just eating, trying to get back to our heart, back to our bodies, and we're just eating and eating and eating. It's like
I'm guilty.
Addiction. You're right.
I'm guilty. 100%.
I am
it's
too.
It's because of the society that we grew up in and those habits, but then you do get conscious of it, and one way is to stop fighting it and start watching it and accepting it and just being like, I'm a pig, and then you kind of like sit there with your piggly wiggly instead of going unconscious pigging out, then waking up at the end going, oh my God, what have I done? I just ate a box of cookies.
Yeah.
Instead, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna eat this box of cookies and I'm gonna enjoy it because I'm a piggy wiggy. And you just kind of accept it and you watch it and you're like, wow, I'm really, really eating a lot of cookies or whatever. Or, oh my God, I'm gonna eat this whole pizza. I just said one piece. And I'm gonna sit here and watch myself eat this whole pizza.
Right.
I'm gonna sit there and watch myself being bloated instead of that whole thing where you're like, oh God, I'm a fat pig. I hate myself on every bite.
Right.
Instead you turn it into a meditation. That's the cure for everything. You do it with the weed. You're like, I'm a
100%.
pothead. Okay. Let's see. What is this like? Oh, okay. My lungs, it burns a little. I'm coughing. That's because why am I,
Totally.
and you watch.
Yeah.
And it's a meditation. And then consciousness and awareness allows you to be like, finish half the cookies and then stop. Whereas you normally eat the whole thing. And then you're like, you know what? I'll keep doing what Dan said and I'll just be aware. And then you're like, you go to grab the cookies at the store and you're like, you know what I mean? Instead of, because what you're doing is you're taking the rush, that secret shadow rush. I've never called it that before, but that secret inner part of you that's just like, this sneaky little devil that's like, I'm gonna eat this box of cookies and feel guilty about it. And you take away the little devils, and the devil's like, you're at peace with this? I'm like, I'm just gonna eat the cookies. Screw it. You know, I'm not going to feel bad anymore about it. I'm a pig, and the devil's like, well, you're taking away my power,
Totally.
because you're bringing light to the darkness, and then the darkness isn't getting its due, because the devil will tempt. I mean, Jesus was up there and the devil was like, I'll give you the whole world, and Jesus was conscious enough to where he could have been a master and manipulated all of nature. But he decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay pure, And so he just brought light to the darkness within all of us, the shadow. And so we got to be chill too, because we got to embrace that shadow within all of us. I was going to read the ingredients on this bad boy. I unplugged that light because it makes a weird thing. So wormwood and black walnut hull and the clove, you smell in that's one of the things. The garlic, the rhubarb, the turmeric, the golden seal, the pumpkin seed, the butternut, and the fennel. And so all of those are the anti-parasitic, anti-fungal type of herbs that then it helps to keep the gut balanced. And that's what we're aiming for, is to get the gut healthy again, and that's the beginning of the end of our diseases. For many, many different things, many, many different diseases are based in the lack of communication and the inability of the microorganisms to produce the medicines that they need, because the fuel isn't there. And that's why the Paradigm Company does so good, because everything that they do, even these proteins, the fibers in here, this is straight feeding the microorganisms. And it's all 22 essential amino acids in a plant-based form that's been micronized, so the surface area is really high. There's a protease enzyme and a proteolytic probiotic, so it pre-breaks down. It's pretty ingenious, and then you're just and then the cool thing is that most of our food supply is toxic, and their suppliers, they make sure they test everything on the way in and the way out. So if you're ever in a pinch, you grab some Life Essentials and some Paradigm Natural Protein, and you just stir that with some water. And if you've got some salt, lucky. And that's what you eat for your food. If I had to hike across the world, I'd bring that, because then you would just put it in a jar, shake it up, or stir it up and eat it with a spoon. Add a little honey if you want carbs, add a little salt or some herbs, and you can eat that, but it feeds the microbes and it's balanced. Anyways, I didn't mean to plug that one too much. I was just trying to I don't
think
even know
that's
where the hell that
incredible.
came out of. Yeah,
I want to get some of that. That looks so good.
it's good. It's expensive, and people say that, but then they open it and they try it and they see that a bag like that lasts about a month. And then you just add it to, there's 100 different recipes that I have, but I like to add it mostly to the yogurts. Just a scoop. Then all 22 essential amino acids. You don't need a lot, but you do need some. And we're coming from the plant-based, but then it's the glucose that actually creates proteins in the human body from the amino acids. It's the glucose that kind of does everything, because that is the energy that goes into the cell. And then the mitochondria are actually little bacteria that create the ATP. So everything is one big microbial bug activity. Hundreds of trillions of microbes living in your body, living in your nipples, living in your brain. There's the actual fungal network in your brain for communication and the the delivery of nutrients and repair molecules to the brain and to all the tissues.
Right.
And when we go with all these poisons, that's the problem. The drugs, the poisons, the toxins, the inimical substances that inhibit the biological functions at the microscopic, nanoscopic, and even the macroscopic, the macronutrients, the micronutrients, and then the nanonutrients of the energetics of sort of like the intention of these pesticides and stuff and these other things that get exposed to us that have a frequency of diminishment of your ability to become illuminated by connecting to the light. So they produce those shots to be able to inhibit your spiritual potential.
And
so
give you antibiotics, give you things to kill you basically on the
That's
inside,
what,
from the inside out in a subtle way. And I learned about something. I just wanted to.
That's why we do the probiotics.
Thank you.
And then with those, you just take as many of those as you want.
Wow, thank you.
You can chew those.
Okay.
And then what I do is I chew those. And then that's my last thing that I consume in the day. Because there's a system to this. The cleanse has its part in the system. Then the herbal blood and the enzymes. And then there's also this MSM.
Oh, I love that stuff.
With the the MSM?
Yes.
The sulfur. You don't really need as many of those because that's a super concentrated, but that allows for cell permeability. It's the third highest molecule in the body is the sulfur. And then you've got finally, so I do the cleanse, number one. Then you do number two, herbal blood, MSM, and the lifetime, and that just activates, cleanses, heals.
I'm feeling different already.
Yeah. And then
wow.
Finally, then you have your meal, then you bring in the Pure Life, and that breaks everything down and transforms it again and allows for even more utilization, because these probiotics are a little bit different than many others, is that they're enzyme activated. So it just takes the probiotic activity to a whole nother level. Now there's only 5 strains of microorganisms, but those particular ones are there to break down and utilize and recycle, and also the probiotics are nourishing and also supportive of the other thousands of microorganisms that then proliferate. So what you're doing basically is you're doing good and you're not doing bad, and that's really the point of all of it. Do more good and do less bad, which is kind of relative, except for if you get to know like what is life and what is supportive of life and what is detrimental to life. And you can figure that out in essence. And then there's of course the muscle testing, which then you can really get it dialed in. Right. Anyways, we went off the rails today's video. I didn't even know what was gonna happen.
I'm loving it. I just wanted to throw out the word biobubble. So when we are full of a wide, diverse array of healthy bacteria in and around us, and we're immersed in that, we are protected inside and out. Our immune system's through the roof because we have not only our own immune system, but the consciousness and intelligence of all of these bacteria, trillions of them working on our side and with us, because they want us to thrive and survive. If we do, they do. And it's a co-creation.
And if we get out of balance in our gut with the diet or the lack of oxygen, the lack of exercise, or too many mixtures, or too much processed food, or too many chemicals, it's going to make way for those microorganisms that aren't bad. Parasites aren't bad. They're there, sitting there waiting just in case you overeat too much one day of the wrong kind of thing and get into an anti-oxygen state.
Wow.
But that can happen every day. If you go to Krispy Kreme donuts, you got your coffee, you eat the Krispy Kreme donuts, and you sit behind your desk for 10 hours a day, and then you don't get any exercise and you're stressed. Now you're going to start to have this downward trend where you can reverse that and get some of this other stuff moving in the right direction with different lifestyle choices. So I know that everybody's different. You can't say, well, you're going to do this and everybody needs to do the exact same thing. So I try to, these videos are weird because it's like, I don't know you, I don't know what you need. That's why the consultations are the best. And when I do the consultations, we don't even really talk about stuff like this, to be honest with you. Like, what's really going on in your life? You know, what are your real issues? Because food, the bad food choices are simply a byproduct of that, a manifestation of these deeper things that I try to help people to, you know, understand what's going on in their life at a deeper level. And so then when I make these videos, it's like food and stuff like that, you know.
But you really personalize it. You're getting to know the person. You're helping them with their whatever they need help with on an individual level.
People are surprised. They're like, what should I eat? I'm like, well, hold on a minute, slow down. You know what I mean? Like, let's find out. And then most people are very open. And I've had a couple people resist my questioning. You know, like, well, what is really going on? Who are you? What's your job? What's your weight? What's your sex? You know, do you jerk off every day? I asked all the young men that, you know, and I'm like, stop, you know, and then we can stop looking at porn, stop looking at TikTok, and well, don't stop looking at TikTok, the Life Regenerator on TikTok, because I just opened the TikTok thing today. My dude thinks it's going to blow up because I'm not shadow banned over there, and they're going to love you. So we'll see about that, and then we'll drive the traffic over to the new website or the new YouTube channel, which is really growing. And I want to thank anyone who's still here is a DTM fan. And I'm just doing my thing. You know, this is like, what I'm trying to do is balance service and job, you know, because I have like my own considerations and stuff, just like you do with your family. Any man out there, he's got his job and he's got his woman, he's got his kids, and he's like, listen, I just put my head down and go because I love my wife and my kids. I'm in that phase, you know, even though don't have a wife at this moment, but it's coming down the pipeline. I just said something there. I said that, didn't I? So that's what it is, but I'll leave it at that. But we got to get our, together and do good. So we just wrapping now. That was a cool video.
Thank
you just
you,
held
my friend.
space. I didn't mean to, it just, what happened.
I'm grateful for it. That was awesome.
Okay, cool.
This
Good.
is awesome.
Yeah, and I'll just put all that away, but I'm just doing my thing, and wanted to introduce Colin to that stuff and show him and give him the juice that I made yesterday that I just couldn't get to because today is fasting day, and I am here to do my best. Yeah, and anything else, bro?
Just try to do something good for yourself and kind for yourself today.
Yeah, this is a really, really nice guy. A really good, supportive human being.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're a great guy.
So are you, man.
I've only known you for 3 days, but we
You can
talked a
tell.
long time, and then we talked a little bit yesterday, and then we hung out today, and we talked, and got a great massage. My neck and back is really, really good. Like we talked about, I prefer women for the energy thing, but sometimes they don't get the buster. You gotta get in there and bust me up.
I
And
was
that's what
really
we did
doing
today.
that, yes.
Yeah, I got it, man. I'm like stuck. I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. So take care of yourselves, get a massage, take a colonic, blast your enzymes. That's really the message that I'm gonna really try to hone in on. Is like, if there's anything that you can do, even if you can't do all this crazy stuff we're talking about, I think the best thing you can do every day is to drink a fresh organic juice and blast those enzymes. If you can't do anything else, that's literally going to be like, that's really going to help you. And then you're really going to start, the enzymes, this is liquid light. The enzymes are the spark plugs of communication light in hundreds of trillions of biological reactions in the body. Without the enzymes, they can't happen. So you're just like, oh, you know. And you start taking those enzymes and you start drinking the juice. Then you'd be like, you know what, honey? Tonight instead of barbecue, I want a salad. Maybe a chicken salad. Okay, but you're like, you want some green stuff, and you start. You do the daily juicing habit. It starts to introduce that microbiology. Then those microorganisms begin to proliferate because they're getting in there, they're getting more oxygen, and those types of microorganisms that are associated with oxygen and the plant foods, then they start sending signals to your brain of what to eat more to continue to nurture and compost. Well, it's so complicated and so cool. Complex, and yet we don't have any science to even begin to start with how complex it is, and these networks of communication and, you know, metabolic byproducts is what the only thing I can ever think of all of these microorganisms that you're releasing, these exudiants, which are the medicines, which are the hormones, which are the steroids, which allow you to get a heart on, which allows you to create serotonin in the gut for the brain to experience it. And then 100 million other things. It's all starting in the gut though. And that's why the gut, if you get that, then of course you're gonna have to wake up to all the other stuff, your heart crap and all your childhood crap and all the thoughts and the stinking thinking. And then if you even keep going on to that, you're gonna have to start dealing with your spiritual karma from all lifetimes. And it's just like this thing, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's either nuts, a hypochondriac, or in some strange way a genius, you know what I'm saying? Because he's committed to the light of truth. And so therefore it's like on and on ad infinitum, for forever, non-stop. Some pleasant days and some unpleasant days, but you can begin to find the center and make peace with the dualistic journey of being a human being. So I will stop there. How was the juice, my brother?
The juice was fiery and blood enriching and energizing. I feel more energized than when I drink a cup of coffee or more than a cup of coffee to feel awake. I feel like buzzed on like goodness right now.
I'm telling you, man.
It feels so good.
I've been on juice for 30 years, so you don't got to tell me, man. Like, it's just real life energy right into the bloodstream. You add those enzymes, and they have a consciousness. Everything from Paradigm has a very, very high level of consciousness. And that's another thing that people need to realize. These different things, the key codes, high level of consciousness. Paradigm, high level of consciousness. Green Star Juicer, high level of consciousness. Key codes, high level of consciousness. Music, books. And then get rid of the lower levels and bring in the higher levels on all the things that you can in every aspect of life. And then the lower level friends fall away. The higher level friends, you spend more time. You're just trying to evolve yourself by exposing yourself to higher vibrational frequencies from within and without. Can you dig it?
I can dig that.
Okay, right on, bro.
Thank you.
That was a great video. Thanks for holding space, bro.
Of course.
And thank you all for watching, giving it a thumbs up, leaving me a comment, and subscribing to these videos if you haven't already. Share it if you want to, unless you're going to scare your grandma away or whatever. Like, maybe not this one. But we went to a pretty good level today, so seriously, God bless you. I hope that you got something good and that you're filled and infused and you feel the goodness and the light. That's what I'm trying to spread consciously. So I'm out. Okay? And we got to get you home so you're not late. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Rock on.
Thank you very much, all. God bless you. I really appreciate you a lot. Goodbye for now. 43.